Mark Walsh here from Purpose Black Belt and Body Facilitator course, bunch of other stuff. I'd love to say I'm doing this video on money, mindset, and capitalism from a luxurious hotel room, but it's pretty average. But I'm in Moscow, pursuing my work, my love, doing what I do, and yeah, this video is on money mindset against a kind of more radical backdrop. So, for Purpose Black Belt. So a course around finding what you do, finding what you want to do with your life, and making a living from it. Online course has started now, so I'm not selling it. I started getting into a lot more of the stuff around looking at attitudes towards money, because what I realized in my own life, in the 9 years I've been running a business, is I had some sort of blocks around money, psychological stuff, stories, narratives, unconscious stuff, embodiments as well. And a lot of the people I was working with had the same stuff. Problems, the psychological problems to pursuing their business, to getting wealthy, whatever. This is like at least 100 years old, so like Napoleon Hill, something like that. Think and Grow Rich. It goes from everything from deep psychological work to kind of stuff like you just have to visualize it, and you can hear my attitude on that. But there's some really good stuff out there in terms of abundance mentality and in embodiment terms. The capacities are to hold money, to be able to give it, to be able to receive it, and I've confronted a lot of my own demons, maybe too strong a word, issues around that over the last few years. I was really brought up with this idea: good people aren't rich, rich people aren't good. Yeah, you look at other, an exercise that there's a money coach. I've seen several people do this. My friend Charlie, another one, Cleona, who was on Purpose Black Belt, asking people to finish the sentence: "Money is," and then it's like freedom, power. Because there's not enough of it. I don't know. You've got to be careful with it. You shouldn't give. You should give it away. You shouldn't give it away. All these attitudes that are out there. And I remember, Cleona, who's a real expert on this stuff, basically saying, look, most people aren't good with money. And recently I was teaching a bunch of yoga teachers embodiment yoga at the last day. I said, I do a bit of marketing, I have some skills around this. And I said, who's got stuff around money? Most of the hands in the room went up. So I think it's something we can really look at. I've got videos on this, money mindfulness, look at the Purpose Black Belt series, stuff on unfucking ourselves around money. There's practices, whether that's giving away money or counting your money or looking at how you spend money. I got out of debt myself this year for the first time, which felt fantastic. There's a way in which debt kind of really, not just the practicalities, but also the kind of mental weight of that. There's things I do around my own relationship to money, like being generous to myself, in terms of, like, I'm in Russia right now. Often when I'm here, I go to this place called the Sardny Banya, which is like a luxurious bathhouse. And that's as much about working on my own relationship to money, self-care as well, actually. But both of those things, it's not just about having a nice day. What I will and won't spend money on. Like, I just bought a Fitbit today. I was like £80. I'm like, okay, is this something I want to spend money on or not? So anyway, lots of practices, lots we can do internally, psychologically, in terms of practices out in the world. How do you contract in your body when you take money out of a cash money? More videos on that. But then I'm sort of thinking, the risk in all this money mindfulness stuff would be kind of blaming poor people, saying, what, you're poor because you didn't. The most crass is like, you're poor because you didn't visualize it hard enough, and even or even in stuff that I agree with about taking responsibility, yeah. There are ways in Britain, for example, there are ways, as I did, without too much money, to start a business. But then we also have to see the mindset is part of what keeps people poor. Now, this could be viewed as kind of like victim blaming, they're poor because they just don't think right, or, they're not positive enough. It's kind of an American way, it's bullshit, it doesn't fit my values at all. Actually, though, this is the point of the video, if I can get in there, I can tell it's late. Actually, we could view it completely the other way. Right? We could view it completely the other way and see that part of poverty is mental poverty. Part of what keeps people down is lack of self-belief, yeah? Actually viewing the kind of psychological, social, cultural oppression in that way. I know when I've hung out with sort of people that grew up much richer than me, some good friends now who kind of grew up very wealthy, they just have a different sense of self-belief, for example. They just assume, I got a good friend of mine who went to Eton, for example, as a coach friend of mine, and I always used to give him shit, and he used to tease me for putting ketchup on my food and whatever. And we got good friends, you know. And I'd see he was just like, well, when he started a business, he was like, well, of course I'll be successful. He didn't even think about it. He wasn't even, you know, he'd just grown up, and somatically he's used to taking space, being a big guy in big rooms and space, and you know, a certain luxury. And yeah, so I think we can look at the somatic, cultural, psychological oppression of people. So it's, yeah, it's not just. I mean, yeah, we gotta acknowledge the systemic factors that exist, both in terms of structural factors. You know, like availability of education, for example. Like this guy went to Eton. Even if he was thick, he'd have a fucking head start. You know, like he's not actually, but even if he were, you know, he's pretty average intelligence guy. He had some of the best tutors money can buy. You know, he had small class sizes. There was like 30, 32 kids in the classes I was at school. He had like 20 in his class. You know, they're gonna get the better teachers. Now I've worked with teachers from all over the UK. There's good teachers in public and private sector, but if I'm honest, on the whole, I saw better ones working for private schools because you know they pay better, right? So they can interview, they can be selective. That's how capitalism works. So yeah, you know, in terms of the it's not just those structural factors like access to education, but it's also mindset. It's also self-belief. It's also attitudes around money, education around money. You know, like I was trying to talk to my dad, who grew up relatively poor as well, about assets. He's actually got some money now, and I'm saying, like, Dad, you're spending all this money, and you know, like, why don't you invest it in something? You know, the idea of having an asset just doesn't sort of, it's not something in his mindset. You know, he's like, I've got some money, I'm going to spend some money. Whereas for me, it's like I'm constantly producing assets in my companies and intellectual stuff, you know, intellectual property, whatever. And he's talking to me about my pension. I'm just going, Dad, my pension is these assets I'm producing. Yeah, pension, you know, whatever. But there's nothing wrong with that. It's good to plan ahead. But different mindset. So it would be interesting, you know, I don't think many people have done it. It'd be interesting to see what work that brings together the sort of personal responsibility stuff, which actually I'm really into, and we need to take control of our lives and of our money. That's a big thing to take control of, and say, look, you know, I'm in the situation I am right now. A good part of that is my responsibility. Yeah, rather than being in that victim mindset, which isn't just going to help. How do we combine that without victim blaming, but also seeing it in kind of a radical lens? So this is a real inquiry video. I'm just like sitting on the couch late at night in Moscow, kind of thinking out loud. So feel free to add your thoughts in the comments, and if I share this on Facebook, on there. So yeah, how would that be? How would that be to combine those things, a kind of American personal growth kind of approach, psychological approach, but with more of a kind of left-wing framework, looking at how people are oppressed psychologically, socially, culturally, as well as the structural factors, which we don't want to discount. You know, that's the kind of really crass side. So yeah, random thoughts on radical money mindset work. What would that look like?